Stop. Welcome to DBL. You want to repeat what you just said?
I don't know what you're talking about.
No? Okay. You do love me and Erica's puff sleeves today.
I do.
Thank you.
I was questioning, is this a seafoam green or a turquoise? And I said, is this a ShamWow or a paper towel? I just had questions to kick the segment off.
Okay.
Good things Dr. Coley's here to clear it up.
Thank goodness. Dr. Coley is here. Speaking of which, welcome to DBL. If you've been outside, you probably have noticed it's getting really hot. In fact, tens of millions of Americans are being warned about a dangerous heat wave. States in the Midwest and in the East are expecting record-breaking temperatures that could last all week. And here to help us beat the heat, we've got our very own Dr. Coley. Thank you so much for joining us, Doc. We appreciate you. So what is so dangerous about the heat wave, and are you concerned?
You know, our body is like a machine, and it's designed to operate in a very tight temperature range. So when it gets out of that, like when the climate is really hot, it starts to break down. And I'm talking about mentally. So we start to have more psychological issues, actually more depression, more fatigue, even more substance use when it's hot out. Because one of the ways we cope is by drinking a nice, cool alcoholic beverage like a cocktail, which can actually dehydrate us and make things a lot worse. We don't sleep well, so we're more irritable. We tend to have more fights with our significant others, with our families. And then there's the physical effects of it as well. And I think all of us have actually experienced the physical effects of extreme heat. You spend a day outside, especially for somebody who works outside, like in construction or anything like that, you start to have a headache, you feel nauseous, you feel like your heart's racing, you feel, tired and overwhelmed. That's called heat exhaustion. That's the first step towards a more concerning, deadly illness called heat stroke, where you get a really fast heart rate, you get confused, you can actually lose consciousness, and that can progress to coma and rapidly to death.
Yeah, I was at a football game in Miami when I was in grad school down there, and the guy that I was with started babbling like around the second quarter, and we were all like, what's going on? And then he passed out, and they had to, we were in the Orange Bowl. It's probably 100 degrees. People were drinking beer. He was, but I mean, he missed like the next week. Like he had to be hospitalized. It's super serious.
And Al, it sounds like your friend was probably young, but if you're older, you have chronic health problems, pregnant women, children, and pets. I mean, these are populations that are extremely susceptible to the heat.
Well, Doc, let's be real, because all the stuff you're saying about heat is very important. But if somebody's listening to the show saying, yeah, but I don't have air conditioning, like what do you do? Because I've lived in apartments like that.
Yeah, I mean, air conditioning is a modern phenomena. Our body didn't evolve to have air conditioning. So there are ways that we can cool ourselves from the inside and from the outside. So let's start with the outside. Obviously, you want the temperature in your house to be cool. So you want to try to block out all the windows that have sun coming in. So use those blackout shades. Those work the most effectively during the day. At night, you want to open up things so that you get ventilation, especially get a cross breeze. Turn on the fans and try to put some water or something in front of it. Just keep in mind, though, when you put water, you can actually create a little bit of humidity. One of the best ways.
A bowl of ice cubes.
Yeah. You mean to have or to put in front of the fan?
To put in front of the fan.
Both.
Both.
Yeah.
I would say both, because you want to cool yourself down
Sam
from the
know that
inside.
ice is water as well. It's just dressed differently.
Yeah, it's frozen water, Sam.
Dr. Coley.
So take that ice cube and put it in your nice water beverage. You do not want to have sugary beverages. You do not want to have alcoholic beverages. Those can dehydrate you, but good water from inside. Spritz the water on your skin. If you're really hot, wet your hair, because we lose a lot of heat through our head, so getting our hair really wet can help, and also our forehead as well. And then, of course, you want to make sure that, at night that you're not exercising too close to bedtime. You want to change how you eat when it's hot outside. So don't eat heavy, protein-rich meals. Tiny little meals that digest easily and not within 3 to 4 hours of bedtime.
So let's switch gears, because yesterday the Surgeon General recommended health warnings on social media for young users, like they do on cigarettes. So here's what he had to say about it on the Today Show. Let's watch.
When adolescents spend more than 3 hours a day on social media, we're seeing an association with a doubling of risk of anxiety and depression symptoms, and the average amount of use per day among adolescents is nearly 5 hours. Now, a warning label would help parents to understand these risks. Many parents don't know that those risks exist, and we have data from tobacco warning labels that in fact tells us that they can be helpful in changing awareness and changing behavior.
So, Dr. Coley, what do you think of this? Will health warnings really work to help keep kids safe online?
Well, as he said, like tobacco industry tells us that putting a warning label on something does make people a little bit more aware of it, maybe changes some behavior. But I have to caution you can't just slap on a warning label and expect it to do all the work. It really has to be part of a bigger public health strategy where you're targeting the campaign, you're educating on a wider level. You're talking about social media in schools, for example. You can't just put a warning label on and expect everything's going to fix itself.
So what would you do, Dr. Coley, if you were Surgeon General?
Well, maybe I will be Surgeon General.
Okay,
When
so
you-
what would
when
Actually,
you are Surgeon
Vivek is
General.
a friend of mine from Harvard, so I know him very well. But you know, I feel like the strategy needs to be holistic and more sort of broad. So yes, maybe a warning label is the first step. Now we have data from science that tells us that just text warning labels aren't as effective as graphic ones. So designing something more graphic, especially our younger sort of audience, can pick that up a little bit better. And I'm even talking like my nephew's age, 6 to 10 years old, because they're even starting to get on social media. So putting that on there, making sure that you actually implement policies that hold people accountable. And I'm talking about the tech companies, right? So you can't just put all the responsibility on a warning label. You have to make sure the tech companies are also held accountable, giving us metrics, reporting what these types of interventions are doing in terms of mental health outcomes. And then, like I talked about, regulations in schools, regulation at camp, all of those types of activities as well.
I like that. Dr. Coley for Surgeon General. Dr. Coley for
Start it right
Surgeon
now.
General.
Doc, really quick.
My campaign manager
Yeah,
right here.
absolutely. We only have like 20 seconds, but you talked about 6 to 10-year-olds. Should adults be warned as well?
Absolutely, Jeff. And I think this is part of the problem, is that it's the kettle calling the pot black, right? We ourselves are addicted to social media. 4.2 billion adults are using social media across the world. 26% of them say they think their use is unhealthy here in the United States. So I feel like we're addicted too. And it's more addictive than marijuana, tobacco, and alcohol, according to the studies. So until we sort of break this cycle, I think it's hard to teach our kids the right thing. We have to emulate the right behaviors. And we went from Mother's Day dinner the other day, and my brother was on his phone, I was on my phone, and it was just hard. It was really hard to put it away.
Yeah,
so
I know. Wow. Well, Dr. Coley, everybody, thank you for joining us. DBL Nation, follow Dr. Coley on social media at Pyle Coley MD. Also, be sure to subscribe to her YouTube page and check out her podcast, Heart of Medicine, wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thank you again, Dr. Coley.